check out our streaming schedule for this week. We've got tons of content in terms of the NFL and college football, as we're going live just about every single day this week. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single moment where we go live. And now, on with our feature presentation. December 28th, 2024. It's week 17 of the NFL season, and we have an absolutely massive game on our hands at Paycor Stadium in Cincinnati between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Denver Broncos. The stakes for this one are simple. If the Bengals win, they keep their season alive. They still need some help to make the playoffs, but they get back to 500 for the first time all season and are one step closer to playing legitimate January football for the third time in the last 4 years. Lose this game, and you miss the playoffs, with the Denver Broncos clinching not just the final playoff spot in the AFC, but clinching their first playoff appearance since 2015, snapping the second longest active playoff drought in the league. There is a lot riding on this game, as this is one of the biggest games of the season, to say the least. And if you like learning more about big games throughout NFL history, like this one, then this is the place for you, because we talk about all things NFL history all the time with a new video and a new live stream every single day. So if you like that sort of stuff, then be sure to hit that like button down below, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we post on the channel, because again, we post every single day and have a live stream every single day. Thanks in advance for your support as we try and hit 70,000 subscribers. And right now, the good news for the Bengals is that they basically have this game won. After this big third down play by Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase, you can just smell the victory in the air for the Bengals. They've got it at the 6-yard line with 1:39 left, and the Broncos only have one timeout in this tied game. All you have to do is take 3 knees, kick the chip shot field goal, and the game is over. Boom, you're staying alive, the Broncos can't clinch a spot yet, Week 18 just got really interesting, and you're right in this thing. Just take 3 knees, run the clock all the way down, get your chip shot field goal, and the game is over. Just take 3 knees, and the game is...
Don't score a touchdown here, just use up the rest of the clock. Brown, stutter steps, cuts, tries, hits the deck at the 1. Purposefully going down at the 1.
Timeout to Cincinnati for an injured player.
You're kidding me. You're actually kidding me. You ran another play? You ran another play? But why? To get closer when you're already inside of 25 yards for a field goal? Now, you got your own guy hurt for no reason, you had to burn a timeout, and somehow, worst of all, the Broncos are getting the ball back. Good job, Bengals. Good freaking job. It's a dumb decision either way, but let's just see what happens when the Broncos get the ball back themselves.
Burden the block, and Nix will throw it. It is caught, touchdown!
Of course, when you expect anything less, welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before I break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something to look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something to look awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this can possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of an NFL head coach. And for this one, we're taking a look at the mind of Cincinnati Bengals head coach, Zac Taylor. Holy cow, Taylor is extremely lucky that his team is still alive. Like, ridiculously lucky. The Bengals literally had this game won, and Zac Taylor decided to throw it all away. And if it wasn't for the fact that Joe Burrow is winning games while standing on his head, you'd be out of a job by this point. It's that simple. I don't care if the Bengals won, I kid you not, this is up there with one of the biggest collapses in a game in franchise history. Right up there with that wildcard game against the Steelers during the 2015 season, and the 6 seconds debacle against the San Francisco 49ers in 1987, which you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner. The Bengals literally had this game won, and all you had to do was not do what Zac Taylor did, and instead, the game went on forever, and the Bengals almost choked it away. So with that being said, let's take a look at why trying to score from the 6-yard line while the other team only has 1 timeout left is a really bad idea. At this juncture in the game, there was 1:39 left. With how bad your defense is, which, may I remind you, has allowed a touchdown on more than half of its drives in the second half thus far, enters this game ranked 28th in football, and has somehow lost you 4 separate games when you put up 34 points, which should not be possible, you do not want to give the ball back to the Broncos if you do not have to. And sure enough, you do not have to. Because here's exactly how you play this with 139. On first down, you take a knee. We're going to assume this takes 4 seconds because why not? That takes the clock down to 135, where at that point, the Broncos will burn their third and final timeout. On second down, you take a knee, which once again takes 4 seconds off the clock. Take it down to 131, and then the 40-second play clock works its magic, meaning that you're snapping the ball with 51 seconds left. On third down, you take a knee, which takes 4 seconds off the clock. Take it down to 47 seconds, and then the 40-second play clock takes it down to 7 seconds. That means you are kicking the ball on fourth down with 7 seconds left, and you're kicking it from roughly the 8-yard line. That means the game is coming down to a field goal from 25 yards out. And I know you might be saying, Cade York sucks. Your kicker sucks. And yes, I don't disagree with you. He is a really bad kicker and should not have a job by the time you're watching this video. But from 25 yards out, you expect your NFL kicker, heck, your college kicker, to hit that. This season, there have been 212 field goals attempted from inside of 30 yards. And of those kicks, a whopping 205 of them went in, or 96.6%. The percentage actually increases when you go to 25 yards and in, to the point where from 25 yards and in, we have seen 2 kicks not go through the uprights in the last 2 years combined. Basically, the odds are on your side. Think of how automatic an extra point is, and now move it up by another 7 yards and cut that distance to the goal line in half. You're not missing this kick. From 28 yards out, or really 25 yards out, but anywhere in that range, 25 to 27, you kick the ball with 7 seconds left, it goes down to 3 on the game clock. At that point, unless the Broncos can return the kickoff for a touchdown, or they get some crazy miracle play that will live on in NFL history for the next 5,000 years, or the heat death of the universe, you win the game. That's all you had to do by taking 3 knees. All you had to do. And what's insane to me is that you can't even tell me that they did this because they didn't trust their kicker, Cade York. You can't tell me that because there's 2 things involved here. Number 1, Chase Brown wasn't trying to score. He understood the situation. He went down at the 1-yard line, so he was going to put the game in York's hands. What difference does 5 yards down there make? Yes, 5 yards can make a difference on field goals, and no one is denying that. The difference between a 58-yarder and a 53-yarder is huge, as is the difference between a 58-yarder and a 63-yarder. But the difference between what would be a 25-yarder and a 20-yarder, it's nothing. It's like the difference in golf between a 1-foot putt and a 1.5-foot putt. You're still going to make it either way, you're still using the same club, and you can't tell the difference between the distance. So the Bengals did all of this because a 25-yard field goal was too dangerous, but a 20-yard field goal was where it was at. Makes sense. And number 2, the Bengals later tried to put the game in the hands of, or should I say the feet of, Cade York. So it's not like they didn't trust their kicker and were trying to avoid having him win the game and having it come down to him. The logic contradicts itself so badly here, it hurts. It really does. Because the alternative for taking 3 knees and ending the game right then and there is what we just saw. And you saw how well that went. You risked the possibility of injury for no reason whatsoever, which, checkmate, you lost your very good running back who had over 1,000 yards of a season and for whom you have no quality backup for. You risked the possibility of having to burn a timeout yourself because of the injury, thereby giving it back to the other team with time for them to do something. You risked the possibility of scoring too quickly and giving the other team plays for no reason, and we definitely saw that unfold. Basically, there is nothing good that can come from this, nothing at all. The reward of getting a few yards closer on what is already a gimme is not worth the risk. It's almost like if I'm taking a test, and the test is on the history of the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a 10-question test, and all you need to do to pass the test is get 1 question right. I'm gonna do it. This would be like if I decided to cheat. The risk of getting caught is so much higher than the reward, considering where I'm at knowledge-wise, that it wouldn't even be the slightest bit worth it to consider that possibility. But that's what Zac Taylor did here. That's what Zac freaking Taylor did here. A 25-yard field goal versus a 20-yard field goal, that's worth the risk of scoring and giving it back to the opposition, and worth the risk of having someone get hurt for no reason. This was the closest thing that we've seen to the Miracle of the Meadowlands or a Mario Cristobal situation against Georgia Tech. The game was basically won, and the Bengals threw it all away for reasons beyond our comprehension. But I'm sure Zac Taylor, as in the man you've been watching this whole time, has an awfully good explanation as to why this was the case. And what's insane is that Taylor had the same math that I said throughout this video. He had the same freaking math and used the same freaking equations and the same freaking logic, so in theory, we should have come to the same conclusion. But nope, because take a listen to what he had to say.
Can you talk through the math at the end of regulation?
Yeah.
How that kept changing?
Yeah. Well, the injury changed everything because we were going to be able to, I believe, kick the walk-off field goal with about 10 seconds left, and no one's fault. I mean, so we were telling Chase to slide at the 1 because we figured they were going to let us score there, which he did. He did a great job. Unfortunately, got his ankle, and so then they charged us with the timeout. So then that changes everything, and so now you're in a second and goal on the 1.
So he didn't want to score because why would you? He understood, in theory, the situation. But the 5 yards made a difference? They were worth it? And I don't think it's no one's fault, Coach Taylor. I think it's 100% your fault. You put your guys in that spot to get injured and for that to happen in the first place. What if the Broncos pushed him in the end zone before he was able to slide? What if that happened? You're screwed. You are screwed at that point. And then, by that same logic, why'd you try a field goal with Kate York in overtime on 3rd down from a further distance? A 32-yard try on 3rd down where you can get closer? Let's do it. A 25-yard try? Nope, too far, not worth it. We need to get a bit closer. The logic is so backwards there that it hurts. It genuinely hurts to the point where you can't even try to defend this. You cannot possibly defend this because Taylor contradicted himself at some other point. Nothing about this strategy was consistent. Nothing made sense. All I know is that thank goodness the Bengals actually won, because I don't think Zac Taylor would be employed if they blew this one, nor should he be employed regardless. This was a 99.9% chance at winning that he completely threw away for logic that contradicted itself. He allowed the doomsday scenario to happen through his own doing. Even though the result went Cincinnati's way in the end, the injury to Chase Brown and the now one-dimensional offense as a result is entirely on Zac Taylor's hands. And as for the aftermath of the game between these two teams behind me right here, I have no clue if the Cincinnati Bengals are going to make the playoffs. They start off 4-8. It is very rare for a team to start off 4-8 to make it. Now, to be fair, the Bengals do have a pretty good chance at making it if they win and the Broncos lose to the Chiefs in the final week of the season. So it is possible to rebound from 4-8 to 9-8, and we've seen it happen a few times before, but it is very rare. Having said that, the Bengals have way too much talent to even be in this position in the first place, and a big reason why they're in this spot and fighting for their playoff lives, despite a phenomenal season by Joe Burrow, is because of the coaching of Zac Taylor, who has cost his team a few times this season with poor decisions as the game comes down to its conclusion, and almost cost them in this one against the Broncos. The overtime game against the Ravens, you could at least defend the decision to not try and get any closer. This one, with this decision, I can't defend what he did here whatsoever. He's made some questionable decisions this year, and this was the worst of the bunch, even if the Bengals did win by the skin of their teeth at the very end of the day. Zac Taylor deserves to be canned, and even though they won this game, it doesn't change the fact that he is a really bad head coach. So what did we learn from all of this? If you don't have to give the ball back to the opposition, then guess what? Don't give the ball back to the opposition. If you can win the game with a walk-off field goal, then win the game with the walk-off field goal. Especially if said field goal is from inside 25 yards to the point where it's a gimme at just about every single level of football, especially the National Football League. If you really think that 5 yards makes a difference from the 6 to the 1 in terms of kicking a field goal, then you need to reevaluate everything and possibly get a new kicker. And likewise, if you think that this makes a difference, but you're willing to try a kick from significantly longer than that on 3rd down when you do not have to, I don't know what to tell you, because your logic makes no sense. If you can win the game without getting anyone injured, then win the game without getting anyone injured. And if you have the game won, and all you have to do is take a knee, then take the freaking knee. It is not hard, and somehow Zac Taylor made it insanely hard. The Bengals won, but Zac Taylor proved why he is so far out of his element and is one of the worst coaches to ever make a Super Bowl. Because the final 45 minutes of real time of that game should not have happened. The Chase Brown injury should not have happened, and all the people who got heart attacks in Cincinnati, Miami, Denver, and Indianapolis should be financially compensated and covered by the Affordable Care Act by Zac Taylor for his stupidity and his role in that happening. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Be sure to like and subscribe if you have not done so already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And check out my other channels, JG8 for the history of college football, JG7 for the history of baseball, and JG9 News, where we talk about all things happening in the NFL. Join me every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we'll play live NFL trivia for cash prizes. And make sure to join me live, as we're on stream just about every single day. And thanks to all our Patreon members and our YouTube members for helping out the channel. See how you become a member and show your support financially in the description down below.